welcome back once again to another Johnny Torch review. This time we're going to be taking on Cobra Kai Season 5, the long-awaited Season 5 of one of my all-time favorite shows. And this show just keeps getting better and better. Welcome to the show. We're going to get right to it. And I have to say, I only seen the show, this season, I should say, once. So I'm going to try to go over things just from the top of my head. I really didn't have time to really drink the whole season in by replaying it over and over again. Wanted to get this out here, though, the video, the review, because it was such an amazing season. Now, briefly, before we get into spoilers, I don't think this season was better than season 4, which was a really high bar for me. My favorite seasons, I've always said, are the even numbered seasons, which it's kind of like the Star Trek rule, where, supposedly the best Star Trek movies are even numbered movies. And to be honest, it's something like that here. I think whenever there's a tournament, it's sort of like the next season is kind of a lull. And I guess that's not so much true for season 2 because that wasn't ending with a tournament. But this kind of felt like a lull season. So I'm going to say, ranking them, I think I still have to rank them season 4, season 2, season 5, season 3, and then season 1. Of course, there's not really a bad season of Cobra Kai. I mean, I would take a bad season, a quote unquote bad season of Cobra Kai over, half the good seasons of other programs. But yeah, we're going to get into spoilers now. But yeah, if you want just the sort of the down to brass tacks, I would say it was a phenomenal season. Started out a little slow. There were a couple of things I think could have been better. But ultimately, it was a great season. It really kicks into overdrive in probably about the halfway point. It really kicks into overdrive. And, there's no looking back. It's going to be interesting to see where they go from here. That's all I'll say in the non-spoiler section. And we'll get to the spoiler section right now. So here we are. Spoiler warning, spoiler warning, spoiler warning. This was a great season. What can I say? We start off, with the MVP. I think we should start off with the MVP of the season, Chosen. Chosen just added so much to this season. He was great. And he sort of, sets himself up as sort of the LaRusso protector. I don't want to say bodyguard. That sounds a little informal, kind of. But he's more of like an honorable protector. And he sets up to protect the LaRusso family. And just a great performance there by the actor. Geez, I don't remember his name. I don't have the most copious notes here. I don't remember the actor's name, but yeah, he's great. And I had my doubts at first over whether Chosen would play as a heroic character, as a baby face, in other words. But he really hit the notes all along the way here. And this was, I think, really Daniel and Chosen's season. I kind of feel like the juvenile cast, so to speak, kind of took the back burner this season. And to an extent, Johnnie. Although my problem is with Johnnie this season is whenever you give Johnnie too much menial things to do, it starts to get a little tiresome, starts to get a little dry. And, because I think we all come to the show wanting to see Johnnie train, some raw recruits. That is where he's at his best. And there wasn't much of that this season. Again, spoiler warning, but he and Carmen find out they're going to have a baby, which, I think that's probably a good move for the show. I think it's not surprising because I think the arc of Johnnie over this is going to be how he went from being sort of what, as Kreese famously labeled him, a loser, into, the family man, the productive guy. He's not going to really, lose all of those characteristics of classic Johnnie. But I think this is sort of part of his arc. And one of the sad things is it feels like They really seem to tie up a lot of loose ends this season. I don't want to get all into what I think is going to happen next season. I think they've all but announced there's going to be another season. But it does feel like there's a lot of finality this season, and I think next season kind of feels like it could be the last season, which I am disappointed in because with only 10 episodes a season, I could really see this show going 10 seasons easily. They've got a lot of material to draw on, and the fact that they kind of rushed through some of it in this season kind of gives me pause. But so again, I felt the first half of the season was kind of tepid with Johnny just sort of preparing for fatherhood again and a lot of that. The way the season starts also, of course, with Miguel's storyline that needed to be tied up. Some people I've read are not particularly happy with the way this was resolved. I didn't have a problem with the way it was resolved as much as I think it felt like an overture to something that they probably will go back to. I didn't have a problem with him not revealing that he was Hector's son, Miguel. I think that made sense at the time, but I really didn't feel that we got to know enough about Hector and why he was, this bad man. I mean, we just kind of figure out that he's sort of a gangster in Mexico, and that was kind of it. It was kind of underwhelming to that extent for me that he's sort of just, a bad man because he's a gangster and he's got to, push his weight around to get things to operate there in Mexico. And I think they could have done a little more with that. But ultimately, I wasn't disappointed with it, really. I mean, I didn't think they needed to have that play for like a half season. Like, I think people were expecting it to be like a large storyline because ultimately they had to get back again. Because, like I said, whenever Johnny's too far off the reservation and not dealing with karate and Daniel and all that stuff, it gets to be, it's not the milieu that he should be in. So I thought that was successful, and I really liked the way this season they went about the reconciliation between Miguel and Robbie. I thought that was really well done. I think that was given the proper focus that needed to make it believable. Now, there's some other characters that kind of resolve their issues with each other, but it's not really given the time and effort that I think they gave it here. But I give them a lot of credit for that. I think the whatever it is, sort of the stairwell fight, I guess, for lack of a better term, when Johnny says basically you get your guys, frustrations out on each other and let's be done with this. That was really well done, I thought, too, where they're fighting and Miguel really has every opportunity to just do the same thing to Robbie and send him over the railing. But he doesn't do it, showing that, and again, I don't think Robbie's a bad guy. I think at that point in his life, probably he was, a little more aggressive than Miguel. But I really don't see Miguel ever going to that extreme. A lot of, because as much as he was Cobra Kai, Miguel, he was never, he was Johnny's Cobra Kai. You know what I mean? He was never Kreese/Silver's Cobra Kai. A lot to talk about. Gee, we also have Kreese. Kind of disappointing that, Kreese didn't have a lot to do this season because of the situation, but they made the most, I think, of his screen time. And he is still kind of treating Tori like his granddaughter/ operative, which was, I think, a lot of fun seeing her sort of be the spy, I guess, in Cobra Kai. And the storyline with him is also very interesting because I think they could do an awful lot with him in the next season, but seeing as how he escaped from prison, I don't know that he could take over Cobra Kai again. That's kind of interesting. I mean, I think with Silver out of the way, that would be the obvious choice, would be to see him take over Cobra Kai again. But again, I don't really know how that can happen now. Of course, there was the fake death with Kreese. I was kind of worried about that when there was 2 fake deaths this season. I was worried about Kreese because, let's face it, Kreese and the character as well as the actor, Martin Cove, is, kind of getting up there. And the idea that maybe they want to send him out in sort of a high note with, you know, dying in the show, that was always a possibility. I don't really want to see characters die on Cobra Kai. I think that's what kind of separates it from, a superhero saga and stuff, is these are allegedly real people, and you don't necessarily need to see them get killed. I think this season really went a ways in pushing the boundaries of, I mean, because everybody's like, oh well, you can't really believe that karate rivalries would happen like this in the real world, and so on and so forth. I mean, yeah, it's always been a hyper reality, but the thing is, now we're introducing swords and weapons and things like that. This is what I'm kind of thinking, obviously the police would get involved in something like this. And it's not just some kind of rumble between teenagers and, middle-aged men that are organizing karate tournaments. So it kind of, and there was a couple of times during the season where it feels like they're kind of self-aware, where you could almost feel like a character wants to say, well, that all happened in season 3. You know what I mean? Because there's so much history packed into every season. They kind of have to. There was like a point where, Hawk is arguing with Robbie and Miguel, and Dimitri's like, you know trying to clear the air because they're like basically going over what everybody did to everybody else during the whole show. And at some point, it catches up with you because it's like trying to cram like I don't know, 20 years worth of wrestling into like, one conversation, you know what I mean? So it was a lot of fun, but like I said, those are the kind of things that I felt like they're trying to keep the line, the through line, pretty intact. All right, bad boy Mike Barnes. Let's talk about him for a second. I was really excited about seeing Sean Kanan return as bad boy Mike Barnes. I don't feel like they really did him justice here. Now, the scenes he's in are great, but it's kind of like the way they introduced Chosen. I guess they are saving him for somewhere in the future. And like I said, given how the show ends, it's tough to tell what that future is. But I was really hoping for a showdown between, either you'd want to see him fight one of the guys, either he would fight Daniel again or maybe Johnnie, and, some kind of interesting, I mean, possibly Chosen, although they have probably absolutely no common history there. But I think, we really were denied seeing him take on Terry Silver. And given what happens in the show, I think the natural progression, you kind of don't need every character to sort of start where they were 35 years ago. You know what I mean? So I understand not having Mike Barnes be exactly that way, but they really don't seem to explain how, he had the contract with Silver and he was supposed to be getting 50%. And I don't know. I just kind of felt like there was more business between the two of them that were unresolved. And we really don't get to see any of that be resolved. And he's a furniture man now, and I thought that was good. I thought all that stuff was great, and seeing him, interact with Daniel and Johnnie and Chosen was really good. Seeing the ending there was pretty funny with them singing "Eye of the Tiger" in the limousine, getting drunk. That's what I mean. The show still continues to surprise me. I'm like, how are they going to end this season? How are they going to end it? And we start off with, our 3 protagonists with a drunk party in a limo, and then bad boy Mike Barnes is driving them, and apparently he was on something a little stronger himself. But yeah, we're jumping really quite to the end here, but that's kind of what is like the catalyst for the show going forward, is seeing what they do from here and seeing what they do with Mike Barnes. I think he really needs a real showdown with Silver. Now, Silver is arrested at the end of the show. I don't think that's the end of his story, but you see, it could very well be. I mean, if they wanted this to be the last season, there really is only a few lingering plot lines that they could draw on. That's why I don't understand why they rushed through things so quickly, because you have Tori's videotape there, which pretty much, nobody is going to allow Terry Silver to front a dojo uh, competitively, not only in the Valley or anywhere, because he literally paid the refs. And you could tell he paid the refs twice in the exhibition in this season. So he seems like he's done, and he doesn't have any students anymore after this, because pretty much all his students bail on him. Even Kyler, who is probably the only the real heel still. And it was fun seeing him get his comeuppance, because Hawk says, you've been beaten by everybody at this point, and you still got the nerve to act like, you're a bully. And Dimitri was like, I didn't get my chance yet. And he gets his chance by the end of the season. I mean, by the end of the episode, but before the season was out, he did. Kenny kind of lost faith with Cobra Kai. Devin, right? That's her name. She was an interesting character this season as well. They did some pretty good stuff with her. I thought was pretty interesting, because I didn't know exactly how that was going to go off, seeing as how she was a Eagle Fang. But I liked seeing the taking of her under the wing of Tori. That was done very well. And like I said, the relationship with Kenny and Robbie kind of gets like short shrift. They, you could tell if the show ended now, there would be some kind of reconciliation between them. We didn't see what was his name? Sean, the older brother. I was thinking he was going to come back. He still might in the next season. I don't know. We don't really see a lot of resolution between Anthony and Kenny, although they're back and forth carried on a little bit more. I was hoping to see Anthony get a little more training this season, because we left last season with the promise that he was kind of going to go on the straight and narrow, that he wasn't going to shirk his training. And it doesn't appear that he does a whole lot of training. We just get a little sort of off screen, but I mean, it's suggested that Sam says that she's going to try to train him sort of off screen, but he still doesn't really factor into the fight. He gets the guard duty, and that was a good scene too, Chosen, with his the egg test. That was a great scene. And I think that's another reason why Chosen really needed to be in this show, because he brings a lot of that old school Miyagi training to it. I mean, first of all, you obviously now you have someone saying Daniel-san again, which is always great, because that's kind of something we lose without Miyagi and no other, character from Japan, I guess. And he's the perfect fit for that. And also, there was a lot of stuff that he was again he was the fake death, the second fake death. And I felt like it was possible that he'd be killed off, because they did that thing where he admits that he's in love with Kumiko, and he really doesn't want to approach her, because he literally, punched her in the face in the last, the last time at the end of Karate Kid Part 2. So, I kind of felt like, it's possible he'll never be able to, make good that phone call that he left a message, and he could get killed. But, of course, thankfully, that doesn't happen. The last battle between him and Silver was phenomenal. Terry Silver is just one of the all-time great villains. And I think, the showdown with Daniel at the very end in the dojo, that was, again, that was a capper. You could end the whole thing there with that. Daniel uses the Quicksilver method against Terry Silver, and at the same time uses the Miyagi training of the famous crane kick to finish him off. I mean, that's your showstopper. That's how you end the show. I don't really know where they think they're going to go from here. With Terry Silver, at least. Now, we have the other character, his other sensei, the lead sensei, Kim Da-yun. I believe is how you pronounce this. And this is an interesting character. Like I thought originally, I said whenever they add a new character on Cobra Kai, I used to be like concerned, but they always seem to know what they're doing. And so this character, I was not afraid to, join the sort of upper ranks of the show. And she did very well. I thought she was very good, especially with her, there was the scene of her like terrorizing Tori with the same kind, even more extreme with the hand punching the stone and stuff. She's a good villain. I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to try to make her the de facto Cobra Kai leader. Um, again, I don't really know where they're going with this. This is the first season where I really have no idea where they're going. And the Tori Sam feud, again, this is something that kind of was given a light resolution. They don't hate each other anymore, even though obviously they not quite there yet to call them friends or allies. Like I always said, at the end of the show, I imagine that everyone is going to be on the same side. They're all going to be face turns. We did get one traitor with Mitch, and he changed sides at the very end. He was Eagle Fang, I guess. He wasn't particularly Miyagi-Do. But another thing I think that was kind of the way Johnnie gets beat like 6 ways to Sunday. He's tough. He's tough. I like that with it was like, what, 4 or 5 guys? And they just kicked the stuffing out of him. And I knew Barnes was going to come back at some point, but it was like, I kind of felt they waited too long. I kind of felt like that was a little extreme, and another thing, the violence was like a little extreme too, with the guy getting his fingers cut off and a couple more F-bombs than there usually is per season. Some of them were in Spanish, so I guess maybe it wasn't against broadcast and practices, because for a 14 show, an age 14 show, they didn't have a lot of F-bombs this season. Another thing I wasn't too sure about, I guess we're doing kind of negatives here. When Kreese is in jail and Daniel does that thing where he puts the lawyer's name on the paper, I don't know necessarily that I would have. I mean, it's not that I don't expect Daniel to do things like that from time to time, that he's kind of a little shady. But I get the feeling like I don't think that's something that would be considered honorable if Miyagi was training him. I don't know. I kind of took issue with that. But again, I don't know. Maybe that, I mean, after all, Miyagi did teach Daniel to use a rag to facilitate a low blow. So maybe I'm just being a little too sensitive about that one. I don't know. But I kind of at the time thought, I don't know. Maybe Miyagi wouldn't be all on board for that. I don't know. So Sam, let me talk about Sam for a minute, because Sam is one of my favorite characters, because I really liked last season how they showed that it's very interesting how Sam and Robbie are like parallels of one another. Like, for instance, I like Robbie the way, I always liked Sam and Robbie together, and apparently they're just going straight with Sam and Miguel with this one. But the reason why I like Sam and Robbie together is because it is very interesting how they have both this kind of dual personalities. Now, Robbie is sort of like the bad kid with the good heart, and Sam is sort of like the good kid with the darker side. You know what I mean? It's kind of interesting that way. And Sam really did get a little bit of that focus. Now, I liked last season how she was sort of more drawn to the Eagle Fang way of karate, that she wasn't necessarily drawn to Miyagi-Do anymore because she wanted to be more offensive. And I felt like they had that like surrealistic scene where she's in the deprivation tank or whatever they call it, and she's having these visions sort of the dark side, and she's like literally fighting herself within herself. I thought that was really cool, and that was really interesting, and I'm glad they didn't totally get away from the fact that she has a dark side to her that makes her very interesting. It makes her probably my favorite character of the younger cast. Um, and again, all the younger characters are interesting in that way too. I mean, like Tori, she's like experienced hard times, and that's what kind of made her more towards Cobra Kai. But she still has an honorability about her that she doesn't want to be seen as a cheater. You can see that in the water park scene as well, where they have that like slide off or something, and she's like kind of haunted by them saying cheater. You know what I mean? It's very interesting to see all the layers to these characters, and they still gave some time to Eli and Dimitri. Like I said, they didn't really get like a plum roll this season, but they really did well enough to show that Eli is the champ, and Cobra Kai sort of had to go up against their champ during that exhibition. This is interesting too that we have a global tournament now. Now I think this is a great way. Like I said, this is probably in the end game. This is probably where they're going to leave it off, with the final tournament being a global one. Now, how they do that without Silver, Kreese, or any students, I don't know. Maybe Kim comes in, I don't know. But they have very little students, if any, that stuck with Cobra Kai. And she's, I guess, the only sensei left. I mean, that is really going to take over, because Silver offered her that role. And I don't know where you go from there. Now, especially the kids got their senior year still. Now, they've literally said that they're 17. So it's the All Valley under 18 tournaments. They still can probably fit in one more All Valley before they go to the global one. That's why I say they could easily fit in 10 seasons. If they would have strung out Silver for another season, if they would have, held on to the rivalry between Kenny and Robbie and stuff, they could have pulled this out a little bit longer, but I don't know. The problem is the showrunners, they have a new show on Netflix, which means they're not going to give their undivided attention to Cobra Kai. So that's why I'm afraid going forward, either they're going to strain themselves and not be able to really focus on it as much as they should, or they're going to like leave it to the B team and let somebody else really take over the show running. And that would be a shame, because they've done such a good job so far. But yes, that's what I'm hoping. They're gonna try to space out that last big tournament and get maybe one more All Valley in. But again, they probably aren't, because I think they're already all set up for the, as they said, the Super Bowl of karate, with the All Val with the oh, what is it called? I can't remember, but it's like the Super Bowl of karate. I think that's gonna be their big send off. Let's see, what else haven't we talked about? Some interesting flashback scenes. We got a de-aged Johnny Lawrence in the scene with Kreese, sort of working out his issues of his past. I always said, at a certain point, you had to realize they were going to sort of try to redeem Kreese. Again, I still think he could probably go. I think they might kill him off, but he has his weakness for Johnny, and he's going to try to do something. And he's got to have his rematch with Silver. That's why I say I don't know, exactly how they're going to get him out of prison, Silver. But I can't see, unless they were going to end the season, the series here, I can't see how they don't have a rematch with Silver and Kreese. The flashbacks, of course, were good. Like I said, the de-aging, it was, they put some money to that. That was pretty cool. But we got the flashback of Sato, and that was as a younger Sato. We got the flashbacks of Kreese and Silver again as young men training under their original master. Really interesting. It's like I said, they and they had the young Kreese actor in the jail fight scene, which was interesting. I mean, I like that actor, so it was fine. But I mean, it's more basically to cover up that, like I said, Martin Cove, probably doesn't have the mobility for, a prison fight scene, and it was kind of felt like that's what they were covering up for. Betsy flashback with her, like I said, in the prison therapy scene. It was good to see her again. I think that's what basically, you know, is what is used to redeem Kreese, that he wasn't always necessarily, no mercy. So let's talk about what else haven't we talked about? How about Amanda? I guess Amanda and Carmen. That was pretty good seeing them together. Near the end, Amanda sort of getting fed up. That was interesting. Sort of the reasonable assumption, and that kind of led into the thing of like Daniel wanting to give up. It's another thing where I didn't know if that was necessarily the way he would be, but I kind of feel like when his marriage was in jeopardy and stuff, I guess I can understand why he wanted to give up at that point. But it was fun seeing them try to like rally around him and get him back on track. Jessica, the cameo with Jessica was really good, and we find out that she's the cousin of Amanda. And I was thinking maybe they were going to show them both fighting in the bar fight, but Sam saves the day, and I guess that's the way it needed to be, because I don't think Amanda was trained in any way. I mean, I thought they were going to try to do that. I thought they were going to try to show that she can whip out some moves and this and that. I mean, she is married to the Karate Kid after all. But they did play it straight, and they did make it that she's not particularly karate inclined. Jessica was fun to see. Robin Lively from Karate Kid Part 3. It was good to see her, but like I said, they really didn't do anything particularly interesting with her. I mean, I would have liked to see her interact with Daniel, and probably more interestingly with Barnes. Now, I think that might be something that they do next season, because after all, he did kick her in the stomach and terrorize her as much as Daniel. So that would have been interesting to see them two interact. Like I said, there is so many things that they could still do this with this series that would probably take, if you don't want to sort of squash it in, like I said, a lot of this season kind of felt like squashed in stuff. You could really stretch it out over the next 3 or 4 seasons, and you'd still get everything in and not feel like you were cheated of, well, this character never ran into that character. And, we never seen the resolution between this one and that one. That was, something else that they could look into. Let's see. So yeah, I guess that's about it. Like I said, they got Miguel and Sam back together. I imagine Robbie and Tori are going to wind up being back together, and that's kind of the way these things are going to sit. I think, he's such a good actor. I never know how to pronounce his name. Solo. He's such a good actor. And it really is. He's the star of the show. I've always said they never really give him really a great like storyline, I don't think, but he always makes the best of what they give him. It's like I said, that, I feel like when it comes to like Robbie and Sam and even Eli, they kind of have like storylines that are like more compelling than whatever they give him, but he always does nail it. So it's like, good for him, because he really is the de facto star of the show. But let's see, where do they go from here? I don't know. That's a good question, because like I said, I imagine Kreese is now out of jail. Oh, we didn't talk about Stingray. That's right, my man Stingray. We got to talk about Stingray. He makes good. And really, Kreese probably didn't even need to escape from jail, because Stingray was right about to exonerate him. And now Kreese is out of jail. He's probably going to be put back in jail because he escaped jail when he really would have been let free from jail. That's kind of sad. That's pretty sad, because he was innocent. I mean, you can say whatever you want about the guy, but he was innocent. So yeah, Stingray, Stingray, he's got the Cobra Kai car, and he's singing Judas. That was probably my biggest laugh. He's singing Judas from Fozzie. And he does that whole thing with the Dungeons and Dragons routine there, where he's trying to explain why he's scared that Silver's going to kill him if he tells the truth, That was really good, and he gets to redeem himself at the end, and he takes out some Cobra Kai guys and stuff. Yeah, Stingray's great. I like him. I'm really glad that they managed to keep him in the show because I said after after season two, I said they're probably never going to go back to him unless it's like maybe for some kind of joke that he's mopping floors at Cobra Kai or something. But he still has a big role to play, and that's great. I think he's great. That character's great, and the actor's great. So yeah, to wrap this up, what do we see going forward? Kreese is going to probably have to have some kind of showdown with Silver. Like I said, his prison scenes were like really cool, where he's like, Silver's going to hell, he just doesn't know it yet, and stuff like that. I mean, that's real stuff that they're building up to something. I imagine they still have to do the huge big fight with like I said, whatever it's called, the big global fight. And I thought that was really funny too. The guy was a big fan of Rocky 4. That was one of the funniest scenes. And Johnny's talking to him on that level too. But yeah, so I don't know where they're going to get students for Cobra Kai. This is like really interesting to see where they go from here. Is Chosen going back to Japan, or is maybe Kumiko coming to America? We can get that resolved. Hopefully Barnes gets some kind of showdown with Silver as well, because I feel like there was not enough Barnes in this season, and he really didn't get his due. I hope Jessica comes back, like I said, to sort of do something with Barnes and sort of resolve that all that was going on. Again, as far as the kids go, we have to have some kind of, I think, resolution between Anthony and Kenny. I mean, they don't have to be best of friends, but they need to be some kind of, because from what they sort of promised us was that Kenny was going to torment Anthony, and then Anthony was going to learn karate and defend himself. And they really didn't do anything like that. I mean, he did kind of pick on Anthony some more, but they really didn't deliver on that. And I kind of feel we would be cheated if we didn't see the son of the Karate Kid actually become a competent karate master. That kind of is like, I don't know. I don't understand that. Tori and Sam, like I said, there is more to that. I think that they could probably unearth some layers with Devin and Tori, maybe something along those lines. Yeah, that's this some pretty good things. And going forward, of course, we also got Johnnie, and he's going to be a family man. And apparently, he and Daniel are sort of now on the same page. It's kind of tough because I like them as frenemies, but you can't play with that for too long before it gets to be, you have to make some kind of progress, I guess, with that story. So I get that. Like I said, to what extent Barnes and Silver are going to be in play next season, that's the big draw, I think. I like to see what's going to happen there. And, I don't know. It's pretty interesting. All right, so to wrap it up, let me see. I'm going to give this season, Cobra Kai Season 5, I'm going to give this season 4.5 stars out of 5. That's 4.5 stars out of 5. I think I want to say an A minus. Like I said, I think the early episodes, like the first 4 or 5, were not really that captivating. I mean, the road trip stuff with Johnnie was pretty good, while Daniel and Chosen were doing their undercover stuff. Chosen was trying to get in there undercover in Cobra Kai. I mean, that stuff was entertaining. So I wouldn't say it was bad, but and then it kind of also reaches a lull when Johnnie is trying to prepare for fatherhood again. It kind of felt like there was a slow build, which is not a bad thing, but I think I'm going to take off a 0.5 point for that. And again, once it started getting into the global karate tournament, and they had the exhibition, and some of the character stuff going on, I think it really kicked up to the level where I really like Cobra Kai. But the only thing is, like I said, I think they fired off almost all their cannons with this season, and I don't really know where they're going from here. for the long term. I think this is more like going to be a short term thing. I think we're probably going to get at least one more season, if not two. Now I know they said that they're going to be writing season 6, so it's kind of an unofficial official thing that we're going to get another season. Because, like I said, they could honestly have stopped it right here. It looked like, but I think they're going to get another season to do all that stuff that I was just predicting. But I think they could also possibly stretch it out to a season 7. Again, the sky's the limit, because if you introduce new characters and new conflicts and new angles that we haven't looked at, the characters, and like I said, the different relationships between, well, how does Barnes feel about Johnnie, how does Johnnie feel about Chosen? That was another funny part. I really like that scene where Johnnie and Chosen are like talking about what they did to Daniel and how Daniel, that was really funny. That's what I mean. You can play with a lot of these relationships. What does Johnnie have in common with Chosen, and how would they act with each other? That was a lot of fun. You can do that with Barnes and Johnnie, or Barnes and Chosen, or you could play with all these different combinations, and you could probably get, like I said, another 3 or 4 seasons out of this. I think you can get it 10 seasons easy. But the thing is when you are putting all your eggs on the basket of Silver, and then you take Silver out, Silver is like the greatest villain. Like I said, you really can't substitute him. So once he goes down for the count, the show is pretty much over, unless you want to turn Kreese back into a black hat villain, which they're not going in that direction. They're purposefully, like I said, giving him his redemption arc. So I think that's what I mean. I think they're in the end game, and they're probably going to do at least another season, but I think 7 is probably where they're going to stop. I hope that they keep going on, like I said, till 10, 12. I'd be happy with that. But I think we'll get at least another season, if not 2. So there you have it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you enjoy season 5 of Cobra Kai? And how do you rank them? Did you rank like me in the middle of the pack, or do you think it's the best season ever, like I hear a lot of people saying? Did the season not really do anything for you? I can't see that, but I mean, it's possible. Some people would prefer one of the other seasons, or several of the other seasons. But let me know in the comments below. Make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe. And remember, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.